This is Faisal Khan for Lights Out in association with Shamrock Boxing, and with me via Zoom, I'm delighted to be joined by the Welsh super lightweight champion and the guy that's got the best moustache in boxing, Kieran. Kieran Gething. Kieran, how are you doing?
Totally fine. You good, mate?
I'm very well, thank you for asking. We got there in the end after having a few technical issues first time round, but hey, let's see what we can do second time round. How you been, Kieran?
Yeah, I've been really good, mate. Been really good.
Last couple of weeks, we've come to some sort of understanding that there's going to be boxing is coming back slowly. With Bob Aaron putting on a few shows over in America, but we're all the way over here in England. What can you tell us from your side? Has there been any sort of indication as to when we can expect you back in the ring next?
Yeah, it's definitely been conversations. I mean, I think it's been announced that the MTK fight nights are going to be coming back. That I think they're planning one a month for the first few months, and the first one being in July. I'm hoping to get on that, and yeah, the talks are ongoing really. But I've said yes to a couple of things that have been offered to me. Just sorting out finer details and stuff now.
Let's talk a bit about MTK Global, a big promotional business management company in boxing that have done really well over the last few years. They've grown massively. What's it like to be working under MTK Global, and how much have they done for your career so far?
Yeah, it's just a pleasure because a lot of things run smoothly. You feel like you're part of a business. You feel like you're part of a team at the same time, which is good. You know things are moving. Even if they don't communicate it to you, they've probably got some sort of plan for you, which is, I think, the situation with me. And yet the opportunities are going to come, which is the top and bottom of it.
You're 26 years old. You've had 13 fights. You currently hold a belt. You're at a good stage in your career now. Obviously, once this is all over and done, what's the plan for the next 18 months for Kieran Gething?
Well, I was scheduled to fight Sean McComb before for a Celtic title.
Good fight. Very good fight.
Yeah. I think Sean's dropping down to lightweight though, and I've sparred him a couple of times as well. I'm probably going to look to spar together in the next month or so as well. So that actual fight may be out the window, but the Celtic title, that was on the line, I'd like to try and go for that. Because the main reason I'm not saying British or Commonwealth straight away is because I know they're tied up with Phil Bowes and Akeem Brown. But yeah, I'd love to pick up a Celtic title and then jump on the winner of that.
Akeem Ennis Brown and of course Philip Baswell are scheduled to fight for the British title. Is that something you want next, the winner of that fight? Because, as it works, first step in anyone's boxing career, especially a British fight, is obviously to capture the British outright. And that's something you're not far off.
Yeah, 100%. That is the dream fight for me. That is I don't care if Phil's 36 now, so me, and I heard that he wanted to tune up fight before he ended up fighting with Akeem because it's been so long since he's been in the ring. But if something happens, he can't fight, I'd drop into that the drop of a hat. You know what I mean? But the winner of the competition, whoever wins it, I see Akeem coming out on top. I'd like to fight the winner.
Your last fight was all the way back in 2019, November. A good fight with Jeff Ofori. It ended up in a draw. Let's talk a bit about the fight. Your performance on the night. What did you make of it? And most importantly, what did you make of Jeff's performance as well?
My performance was quite underwhelming, I think. But I had a few troubles making the weight because of the uncertainty about being involved in the tournament beforehand, and the blame is totally laid there. I was not professional enough. But with regards to Jeff's performance, he'd fought a week before and won, and maybe came in with a boatload of confidence. Didn't have to stress about making weight or anything. He got a day's notice, I think. And whereas my heart was set on fighting Lewis Benson, Hopefully for a Celtic title, that would have been. It didn't end up happening, and it felt like an underwhelming achievement to be boxing Jeff at the time. But I felt I won on the night. The numbers are going on in my favour, the punch stats or whatever. I can see why judges may have gone for Jeff, but at the same time, in boxing you should vote on a good boxer. In my opinion, you should give the fight to a good boxer. And I think I was clearly the better boxer than Jeff. He just landed a few good punches for the middle rounds, and had I had enough in the tank the last 2 rounds to really pick it up, I think I'd have got a decision there. Don't think it helped having a ref from London being against a London boy in London.
Mm-hmm.
But these little heads, even subconscious biases, they go a long way in boxing. Jeff was the one who, after the fight, was immediately wanted a rematch. So I think he wants validation. It doesn't bother me if I never fight him again or not. It would be a good fight if I did. But top and bottom of boxing for me now is to pick up titles, and let's say I have a belt. I'm not too interested in fighting anybody particularly. The first question I ask my manager every time he mentions a fight is, what's on the line? Money is secondary. Rivalries don't exist for me. It's about the belts.
Nice. I respect where you're coming from. You just want to start picking up titles, and of course, you want to start earning good money. That's what you're in boxing for. So, full respect. You just want to ask you, in regards to that golden contract, I believe you stepped in as a sort of last-minute replacement.
Yeah, I did.
Do you believe that might have had a part to play in your performance, perhaps both of your performances? Because I know that must have mentally must have played with your mind a bit, stepping into that tournament at the last minute.
Yeah, of course. Like you say, at the start of the month, I was fighting on the undercard on a show in Cardiff. There was a build-up show for prospects, and then I go from that to being on the undercard of that fight against Mikey Saki, and then me and Mikey Saki end up going to the main tournament, and everything from checkways and everything that wasn't communicated well to me. It was a little bit out of place, and the biggest profile show I've ever boxed on. There's a reason the Matchroom fighters get put on these big shows right from the start, is so that they're used to it when the limelight really shines on them. And I've boxed on televised shows now 3 or 4 times and headlined 1 or 2 of them, and I now feel I've got a better understanding of the levels of professionalism involved in it, and I think, well, it is 100% all experience. I've got 2 losses and 2 draws. I've got 9 wins, and 3 title fights in those 9 fights. In those 13 fights, I got 3 title fights. I've got a Fight of the Year award, Welsh Fight of the Year award. I've defended my title, so I've got all sorts of levels of experience now. You know what I mean? And I just want to take those on now to the higher levels.
Being a Welshman, I have to ask you this question because obviously the last 10 to 15 years has been a real exciting time, especially for all Welshmen in sports. Who do you have as the greatest Welshman in sports, the Welsh sportsman of all time? You mentioned some names: Joe Calzaghe, Gareth Bale, Ryan Giggs. Really familiar names that have achieved so much in their careers, and have definitely cementing their place up there right at the top. Who've you got as a number 1 man as the Welsh sportsman of all time?
As a Welsh sportsman, you've got to have Calzaghe in a conversation because he's probably the best British fighter ever.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have Bale because 4 Champions Leagues. He's a beast.
We don't like to talk about the one in 2018, though, do we?
No, not at all. He fell backwards and picked his leg up.
100%.
Yeah, but Liverpool aside, he is a bit of a beast. So, for me, probably Gareth Bale. I think Gary Thomas should have a bit of a mention for recent years. But yeah, Gareth Bale for me.
Speaking of Joe Calzaghe, over the last, about a couple of weeks before, there was a lot of talks about Carl Froch calling him out, saying, "Come out of retirement, let's have a fight." I'm willing to do it as well if you are. Both two fantastic fighters achieved so much in their careers. If that fight would have happened in their prime, both of them in their prime, at super middleweight, what prediction would you have given?
I'd probably have predicted Calzaghe on points. I could only see really Froch getting him with a big shot like he did George Groves, but I think Calzaghe was a bit too, especially in his prime, a bit too slick to be caught by one of them because his hands would move so fast as well. And we all know how slow-paced Froch actually was physically, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think Calzaghe would probably have outpointed him for the vast majority of it. Even if he'd got dropped, I think he probably went on points.
It would have been a very good fight. A hard one to predict as well, but fair play. Back in
Enjoyable.
definitely enjoyable. Both brilliant fighters, and as you mentioned, Joe Calzaghe, probably one of the best British boxers of all time, retired at 46-0, beat the best fighters. Lineal champion as well, and I mentioned retired at undefeated. It's not something you see in boxing every day. Kieran, before we end the interview, is there anything you'd like to add?
Just good luck to everybody who's going to be boxing on these shows, and there's, like I said, all I'm interested in is titles. Might not happen for this one because people are getting sort of back into the track of things, but if you're interested in my career at all, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and get involved with comments and anything. I've always got time for people who are interested, and I've also written a book actually. So if anyone would be interested in that, it's available on Amazon called Insight.
Perfect. Well, what we'll do as part of our appreciation, we'll put the links of your Instagram and your Twitter in the description of the video. Whatever we can do to help out. But yeah, not a problem. Kieran, thank you very much for your time. I know I've said this before, but yeah, honestly, a pleasure having you on here, and we look forward to seeing you during fight week once this is all over. And thank you for talking to Lights Out.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.